G'day guys, my name is Jody, and for a while now people have been asking me to make a video to help them make a decision about what sort of water system they should buy. I've been in the water industry now since 2008 and done 3 or 4 thousand hours of research and probably spent $250,000 on different bits and pieces, testing and all that sort of stuff. So hopefully what I'm going to share with you today will help you make a decision about what's right for you, because you've probably been onto the internet and had a look around and everybody tells you they've got the best stuff, and you know um, it's super confusing, and you'd be surprised at how many people just don't bother doing anything because they are confused as to what the way forward is, and what they should be looking at. And to me, there's something that's very prevalent in the water industry, and that's it's sorely lacking a duty of care. The people that are selling equipment are either on some front negligent because they know that the products they sell are very profitable, but they don't do what they should do to make the water healthy, or they're ignorant. And if they're in the industry, they should know better. So to me, neither of those are an excuse, negligence or ignorance, because it's really easy to make water taste good. You can go down to Bunnings and buy yourself a Brita filter for 20 or 30 bucks. But it's very difficult to make water healthy. And as per almost everything else in life, the devil's in the details. Now, I'm not a video expert, so please forgive me if I look away or I stop and start and all that good sort of stuff. What I'm going to try and share with you is something that will help you make a decision about what's right, the best water's right for you. So, like I said before, it's really easy to make water taste good, very difficult to make it healthy, super confusing, and let's get started. Like everything, the devil's in the detail. I don't know whether I said that before, but it's the little things that people miss out that makes the difference. And when it comes to water filtration, or creating great water, there's three parts to it. The first part is obviously removing the contaminants, and that's an art in itself. The second part is restoring the natural structure or movement of the water. Now, nowhere in nature does water move in a straight line, so and get moved at 90-degree angles. So when man ships water around the show, it loses all its energy. And then the third part is there's as many ways to make water healthy as there is to contaminate water. So there's thousands of ways, but there's some base fundamental things you can do to water that give water some properties that are more beneficial to health. And we'll talk a little bit about those later. Now, when I said about the duty of care side of things with companies not doing the right thing by their customers, let me give you a couple of examples of that. So one would be most of the municipalities or the water suppliers around Australia now dose their chlorine that they add to the water, they gas it with ammonia gas. And the reason they gas it is because chlorine by itself interacts with organic compounds to form these things called trihalomethanes, which are known carcinogens. So the way they get around that is they gas it with ammonia to create a product called chloramine. Now, chloramines are more difficult to get out of the water, and if you use just a regular carbon filter, you'll take the chlorine out and the ammonia will stay in the water. Now, ammonia is not good for anybody. It's odorless, tasteless, at the levels they put it in, and you don't know you're consuming it. But it's not a good deal. I've seen it melt membranes of reverse osmosis systems. So that's one example of companies selling products that don't address, that don't have a duty of care. Another would be a lot of especially alkalizing units use benchtop and some underbench ones, but mostly the benchtop units. They use a media called activated alumina to take fluoride out, to address fluoride. Well, to be honest with you, it doesn't really do a great job of any of that, and for a couple of reasons. And I'm not a fan of activated alumina for the following reasons. One is it's alumina. We know through the health studies that later in life, aluminium on the brain is a bad deal, and Alzheimer's, and it contributes to neurological dysfunction. The other thing is that activated alumina doesn't leach into the water, but you're putting the energetic pattern. Ouch, just been bitten. It puts the energetic pattern of aluminium in the water. Now, everything is energy and frequency, and to me that's a bad deal when you've got that in the water. Something else, what they don't tell you, is that activated alumina was originally invented for industrial use. The water has to be effective at the rates that they tell you, has to be at a pH of 5.5. Now, no tap water comes through at 5.5. It would destroy the infrastructure. So, it doesn't do what it says, and you'll see lots of companies tell you, it removes up to 77% or 75%, blah 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 blah. So that's one example. Another example would be people that sell reverse osmosis units. And you can get a reverse osmosis unit that starts at, I don't know, $150 probably off eBay. But again, the devil's in the details. When they give you the removal rates for that RO system, what they're giving you is they are giving you the manufacturer of the membrane. They might have not even produced the water system. It's just the membrane manufacturer's specification removal rates. Now that's done at ideal temperature, under ideal pressure. And for most people that are buying RO systems, they don't have a pump involved in the system, so they don't get even distribution across the membrane. The water creates a little river through the membrane, and so the removal rates are very much reduced. In fact, I had an elderly lady on the phone to me a couple of days ago that said, I've just had my water tested, I've got an RO system, blah 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 blah, and I said, I reckon you're probably at 75% removal rates. Now, fluoride removal, they talk about with a membrane getting 93 to 95% removal rates. Well, it just doesn't happen. And her tests proved that. She went from 0.8 parts per million to 0.19, which was around 75%, or just on 75%. So that's another important factor, is what the people advertise. They don't have the backing up data, or they leave little bits of the truth out. If you look at one of my systems, I've tested it. If I don't have manufacturer's data specs, I'll get it tested. And for our top of the line system, it takes care of 98%. Now, I tested that after 6 months of use because I didn't think it was fair to have the removal rates of a brand new system when you drink that water for another 12 months. So yeah, that's sort of my deal anyway, and I think it would have been possibly 100% removal if I tested it when it was new. So there are a couple of examples of that. So filtration's the first part of it, but it's not the only part, because if you can filter contaminants out of water, but the electromagnetic frequency that remains from those contaminants remains in the water. So the water needs to go through a vortex event or a 0 point field to reset the memory of the water. Now there's a whole lot of other things that happen when you spin water, which is basically what vortex does. You know, just think of your DNA, the waves, cyclones, Milky Way. It's all about the spin. That's nature's way of energizing everything. And there's a multitude of things happen inside a vortex, from pressure gradients to inertia gradients to light gradients, gyroscopic gradients. There's a shearing effect, making the minerals in the water more colloidal. And when you do put water through one of those devices, you address things like scale, because scale build-up is there because the matrix of the water cannot hold the minerals in solution. And when the water's got no energy, it's just like you can't do much work with no energy. So when you put more energy into the water can do more work, and it will pick up those minerals and carry them in the matrix of the water rather than just pushing them along and waiting for them to get stuck on each other. So, you know, that's a really important part of that, those minerals being in a state where they're more usable, they get shared, they're more colloidal. Look, I could prattle on about lots and lots of parts of it for a long time, you know, and I'm happy to have a more in-depth conversation down the track, but this is so I can sort of get to more people. What else did I need to talk about? Enhancing the water. So there's a lot of people out there selling Kangen systems. I'm very familiar with the Kangen system. That's how I was introduced to Waterworld. I had a mate that went from over 600 pounds, which is almost 300 kilos, to, by doing a water fast, down to I think 127 kilos in 40 days. And yes, there was plenty of extra skin, but that's what got me started in the water business. Now, ionizing water, and Kangen machines are very well made machines, don't get me wrong. However, the process of they're overpriced for the level of marketing in them, but I don't drink ionized water for a reason, because when you electrocute the water with that amperage that they use, you're destroying the natural structure of the water. So the charge of the water's altered, the pH is altered, the surface tension's altered, but the structural integrity of that water is destroyed. And so it's not in a natural state. It's not. Yes, there's some stuff out there around ionized water and the difference it's made. You know, look, that's another, maybe that's another whole video. But this is just to try and help you eliminate or make a more informed decision. So enhancing that water, there's some fundamentals you can do to it, which is non-electric ionization. You can run it past media like far infrared, tourmaline, and oxidation reduction potential media, which puts a negative charge in the water. Running it past coral calcium and ceramic magnesium will also increase the pH, but the pH of the water is different to the alkalinity. So they are similar, but something can have a high pH but have very little alkalinity. And the example that I give is in water there's something measured called the total dissolved solids in the water. Now, if you live in Melbourne, the total dissolved solids are 30 parts per million. If you live in Perth, they're 500 to 550 parts per million. Now, if you had 2 glasses of water, one from Perth, one from Melbourne, and you started adding, and they both had a pH of 9, and you started adding little drops of acid to those, the pH of the Melbourne water would fall much quicker than Perth because it doesn't have the alkalinity. So alkalinity is not pH, and to be perfectly honest with you, it's a nice byproduct of making the water healthier, the pH going up, but it's probably, to me, the least most important part to creating great water. Look, if I was just to pick one thing that I did to the water, whether that was filter it, vortex it, or structuring, or enhancing the water, I would probably pick, I'd pick nature's, got a fly in my eye, great. I'd pick nature's way, which is nature's way of washing water, which is vortexing. Because what happens in that vortex event, the pressures will pull apart man-made bonds, and nature repairs things at their highest order. And I'll give you an example. So I was in California almost 10 years ago now, and we were testing some vortex devices, and we got some tap water, and we ran the tap water just through one of the home devices, so not under pressure, no great flow rate. And what it did was it ripped apart the bonds in of the sodium fluoride, and because there was a lot of calcium in the water there, it repaired them as calcium fluoride. Now, calcium fluoride's an essential body salt. So nature does the work. So that's why the number one thing I'd do is vortex. Look, there's no one right solution for everybody, whether it's budget, whether it's what's worked for you. I used to be a big advocate of lots of different things. Hydrogen generators, I've had them all. However, it's really important you get your water right. Most people invest a large amount of money in stuff that doesn't matter, like 50 or 100 grand on a car, but you save 5 grand or so on a water machine, and people are like, what? What a load of shit. I just implore you to take the right steps for your family. Something else that you need to think about is not just the water that goes on the inside. Showering in chlorinated water destroys the microbiome of the skin, your biggest organ, for 3 days. It takes 3 days for your skin to recover from a chlorine event. So if you've got bad skin, or you've got skin issues, or they're dry or whatever, then sorting that out is a massive deal. I can't tell you how many ladies that go for our whole home system. Even some guys, especially the older guys, ring me up and say, Jody, I can't believe how much better my skin is. And that's because the microbiome's getting the chance to recover and fix itself. So I've got lots of solutions that start from $50 that go to about $6,000. There's not one size fits all, depending on where you're at on your journey. I'd be happy to help. Whoever forwarded you this video, I'm grateful for them, and if I can help in some way, and if I can't help, like, I don't have all the solutions. There's products out there that I think are reasonable, and I push people in those directions because it's important for you to get what's right for you. So if I can't help you, I'll point you in the right direction. Thanks for listening, and have an awesome day, and let water be your friend. Cheers, bye.